Hello everyone. Welcome back to Business Communication Class 4. This is Savita Khanapure. My dear students, in our last class, in our last video, we discussed about the objectives of communication. So in that we discussed objectives like general objectives and the special objectives. Again in the special objectives, there are three, that is objectives of downward communication, objectives of upward communication, and objectives of horizontal communication. So let us discuss in our today's video, in our today's class, components or the process of communication. So in that, first one is elements. So the elements of communication we will discuss first. Before I start with this, I would like to repeat once again. Communication may be defined. It is a process of sharing ideas, facts, opinions, thoughts, and information through speech, writing, gestures, or symbols between two or more persons. As I said, communication is just sharing ideas, opinion, thoughts, and information. So, this is the process of a communication. It always contains a message which are to be transmitted among the parties. There are two parties, one is sender, another one is receiver, always. And who send the message is the sender, who receives the message is a receiver. So generally the process of communication is said to be complete when receiver understands the message and gives the feedback or response. So feedback is must. So when receiver receives it and when give the feedback, then only that is called as the that will be communication. So for example, you can take a for example of while crossing the road, or while crossing the road, we see the lights like red light, green light, yellow light. So that is also gives the message. So here on a road, when people stop their vehicle by seeing the red light, it is a feedback or response. So, this feedback may be in any form. Even while talking with your friends, nodding of a head is treated as a feedback. Is a feedback. Thus, feedback becomes an essential element in the process of communication along with the message. So, sender and the receiver. Here sender sends the message, receiver receives the message. So when receiver receives it and when he gives the feedback, then only communication process is complete. That is called as communication process. So in this process, what are the elements? Elements of communication process. Here there are 6 elements. First one is the sender. As I said, the person who sends the message is a sender, and the person who receives the message is a receiver. The entire communication process starts from the sender himself. And the next is message. It is a main information. Message is a main information here conveyed to the receiver. There can be a non communication without a message. So without any message, that is not called as a communication. So it may be a verbal or non-verbal messages. Next one is encoding. Encoding is a process where communication starts with the mind. When one thinks of sharing something, that is thoughts, with others, the internal thoughts are to be converted here into suitable messages of words. So here it may be written or spoken or any symbol. In order to deliver it, this process is known as encoding. So this is one of the channel. This is one of the element. Next is channels. Which channel is to be used to communicate? It may be any channel means media. So here written or oral, any media selection, verbal, non-verbal, the selection of channel. This is the selection of media. verbal or non-verbal. Verbal may be written or oral or a non-verbal communication. Receiver, receiver, here the receiver is a person, the person who receives the message, the person who receives the message, decodes and understands the content. He is responsible to act upon and respond. Here the person who receives it, for the person who has to receive, if he receives and if he gives the feedback, if he gives the feedback, that is a who he is a receiver. The next one is the last one is feedback. It is a written communication. It is a written communication. It is a written communication from the receiver to sender. So it is also known as you can say it as a reply or the response. So this completes the process of communication. When receiver gives any feedback, it may be negative or it may be positive. When he gives a feedback, then the communication process completes. So feedback is must. And the next one is steps involved in the communication. What are the steps involved in the communication? Steps involved in the communications are, again, there are 6 steps. So my dear students, steps and the here elements what we discussed already, they are one at the same. So a little bit they are interrelated. So following are the steps involved in the communication. So what are those? Let us see. Formulation of ideas. First one is formulation of ideas. When communicator want to communicate with the others, when sender want to send message to others, then that time first he has to formulate a clear idea about the facts and information he wants to convey. For example, just for example, when you want to say a good morning or good afternoon to your friends and family members, take an example of WhatsApp. While sending through WhatsApp, some people send only images, some people send written, they write it and they send it. So symbols or the images, written messages, these all are communication only. When you get back reply, that is good afternoon to good afternoon, hi to hi, so when you get the reply, then that is the communication. When we say that communication process is end. So formulation of idea means when you want to send uh, any message to your friend, first of all you think, and then what do? You write a message, and then sometimes you use the symbols in between, and how to send it, you think about how to send it, and then you send it, maybe through WhatsApp, maybe through the normal messages, or you can make a call, any media you can use, so modern media you can use. So how you send the message, how you convey the message, that is formulation of ideas. To sending message, what medias you use and how you try to send, that is formulating. How and the next one is encoding of the message. The message is converted into words, symbols. So first step, you decide, you think how to send, maybe verbal or non-verbal. Okay, and the next one is, what do you think? A message is converted into words or symbols or some other form of messages which sender expects the receiver to understand. This stage is called as encoding. Encoding, you have to deliver that message in such a way that receiver should understand easily. You may use any media, but they have to understand it easily, clearly. So then that is encoding. The words you write, the symbols you use, the media you select, that process is called as encoding. The next one is selection of suitable media. After that, which media is suitable for you? Whether media may be media like, for example, telephone, television, mail, okay, mobiles. So which media you is suitable for you to send the messages, which type of message you want to send and to whom you want to send, it depends. Okay, it depends upon that. So which media is very suitable and useful, and which media even they are using, so that is also more important. Next one is decoding the message. Decoding, this process is related to receiver. When message is received by the communicatee, that is the receiver, he tries to understand it, the contents of the message. This is called as decoding. When you send any message to them, they start reading. They start reading. That is what they try to understand it. So that is called as decoding. The next one is acting upon the message. When they receive the message, when they read it, when they understand it, they start acting upon it, and they start giving the feedback, reply on that. That is what acting upon the messages. And the last one is feedback. So here again, feedback is reply. It may reply may be in positive form or it may be negative form. If it is in positive form, if the feedback is positive, then the communication said to be achieved. So the effective of the communication is measured through the feedback only. So my dear students, these are the steps involved in the communication process. So in this video we discussed the process of communication. In the process of communication, in that elements of communication we discussed, and the steps involved in the process we discussed. So the further remaining we will discuss in your next video, next class, that is essentials of business letter. Thank you. Have a good day.